In other news, music has been called the universal language. Historically, it's been used as a method of social commentary, going back to the civil rights movement.
Marcy DePina is an expert in music and the former host here on Ebru of Rhythm and Roots. We welcome her back to the show. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
There is just something about music that brings us all together, but let's just talk a little bit about the historical context, starting with the civil rights movement.
Sure. The civil rights movement really became such an internationally known movement, I think in part because of the music. It wouldn't quite be the same without those songs that really carried us through and taught us about, what it meant to have civil liberties, what it meant to come together.
What kind of songs are we talking about?
Well, the song that always comes to mind, probably the most famous, is "We Shall Overcome." When I think of this song, you automatically conjure up this vision of people holding hands, walking together, of different races, of different backgrounds, but in solidarity through this song and saying that yes, indeed, we shall overcome.
And even before that, and I don't mean to step on you, but even before that, during slavery, many slaves would come together through music and song as well as a way to try and get through these tough times.
Absolutely. Music has always been, I think, a refuge for any people that are going through a struggle. Music is one of the ways in which we really express a profound sadness or anger or any of those emotions that you're not able to express freely in public. So I think particularly during those times, music was a refuge for many people who were being oppressed and enslaved.
And certainly true in African-American scenarios where that came from, in Africa, and using the drum in the jungles to communicate messages. In this case, we know that songs were used during slavery times to convey messages in the song for those who were escaped, things like that. So using that in the 60s and civil rights movement, I guess, was kind of expected. But we've seen this grown in other cultures. We've seen it in Latin cultures too.
Indeed, indeed, and what you say is absolutely true. This is a long-standing tradition. It didn't just start during the civil rights movement. All throughout Africa, you have seen people communicate in different ways, whether it be politically or in terms of, tribal, teaching people what are the ways in which they need to behave in society. Music has always been a tool in which people can communicate and express themselves about what's happening in their societies.
So now we transfer to a war scenario?
Right. How is music being used now to really cultivate activism and get political messages out there?
Right. Well, when we think, at least when I think of the war move, any anti-war movement and how it relates to music, of course, we always go back to the anti-war movement that was taking place in the U.S. and people like Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix. There were so many artists at that time, Marvin Gaye. I mean, we can go on and on, Bob Marley, all these different artists who used their music as a way to speak out and say, we don't want this. And, that leads up until today. I mean, I think the most recent movement that we can look at and see where music is playing such an important role is Occupy Wall Street. Right. I mean, I spent several months down in Zuccotti Park when Occupy Wall Street first took off, and it was incredible, the music that was taking place, from drum circles to klezmer groups getting together, or people mixing things like hip-hop and classical music. It was just this incredible explosion of music.
Well, we thank you for your time, and I know that you wanted to be able to get to how musicians use it for charitable or things, but we will have to save that for another day and have you back again. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you so much.